Hey guys, Ivan here, and in today's video we got a couple of very interesting things to talk about. The first one is a physique update from Mike Sommerfeld, the runner-up of the Classic Physique Mr. Olympia and currently the favorite to win the Mr. Olympia next year, now since Chris Bumstead retired from Classic Physique. We don't know about bodybuilding, but Chris Bumstead is not going to be doing Classic Physique Mr. Olympia anymore. And we got this update from Mike, and when I saw this, I was thinking, I'm sure you guys are thinking the same thing as well, how is this even Classic Physique? How is this guy so freaking massive in the off-season? How does he even make the weight for Classic Physique? And the crazy thing is, if you read the caption, he says, recovery is over. Time to go back to work. Meaning he went off the cycle. After the Mr. Olympia, he probably did a PCT, he stayed off of everything, and that's his recovery, I guess, and now he looks like this. I mean, if I saw these photos without the caption, I would assume that he did a proper rebound after the show, that he actually stayed on gear, he just increased the food and trained like a maniac, but no, he says now it's time to go back to work. So this is basically him just letting his body rest up. He probably ate more food, yeah, but this is what he looks like when he is not cutting the weight for the Classic Physique. And what's even more crazy is the rest of the caption. He says, we haven't reached the weight limit. There are some pounds to add for the next year's Olympia. Coach Neil Hill gave me precise instructions what we need to do to improve. Guys, he is not even at the weight cap. Can you imagine that? I mean, he can still grow. He can get even bigger than this. And this is what it looks like right now once again. And the other thing that I thought, and I'm sure you are thinking the same thing as well, what would happen if he did the Prague Pro? I mean, of course, here he doesn't look like he's 1 week out. He doesn't look like he could jump into the Prague Pro and actually do well. I mean, he could probably do well, but to be in contention for winning the show, no. But if he did what Chris Bumstead did, what would happen then? I mean, you guys heard Tyler Mannion. Based on what he says, and I don't necessarily agree with what he said, I think he's blowing things a little bit out of proportion. I think he's hyping up the next potential champ. He basically said that Chris won by a hair. Chris won with his favorite Classic Physique pose. So basically, Mike won 2 out of 4 mandatory Classic Physique poses. Now, in open bodybuilding, we would have a couple of other poses, like the back lat spread. I can imagine Mike looking really good in the back lat spread, with his massive lats and super wide back. I'm pretty sure side tricep also looks decent on him, and as far as the most muscular, well, this is what it looks like right now, after 4 weeks of not even being on. I mean, it's looking really freaky. He has big arms, bigger than Chris's. And he's very wide to the shoulders, his chest is also pretty good, and when he does this pose, he also has crazy vascularity going through the shoulders and chest. He looks like a freak, honestly. He looks like a bodybuilder. And before this year's Mr. Olympia, in his off-season, I thought he was actually preparing for the Open because he looked that massive. Again, he says that he still hasn't reached the Classic Physique weight cap, but it could also be the fact that they measured all these guys 2 or 3 inches taller. They measured all their hair. So maybe that's why he actually had more weight, more room, but if they measure them properly next year, that won't be the case. Maybe they measured all these guys that way because they wanted Chris Bumstead to make the weight. Maybe he couldn't, I don't know, I'm just guessing. Maybe now without Chris Bumstead that's not gonna happen. But I do think if he was preparing for the Open, if he wasn't worried about making the weight, if his goal was to be as big as possible, as full as possible, with good enough conditioning, man, he would do really well in open bodybuilding. But how well? Would he be able to beat Chris Bumstead? I don't know about that, guys. I don't see it. I think Chris pretty much destroyed Mike at a Mr. Olympia. Not destroyed, but I don't think it was as close as Tyler made it seem. So if Mike jumped into the Prague, not just jumped, I mean, he can't jump in now, but if he decided to do it after the Mr. Olympia, I think he would do really well. I'm not saying he could win, but potentially he could have been top 5. He is definitely one of the biggest guys, the biggest looking guys in Classic Physique, and he kinda does have a structure that is reminding me more of a open bodybuilder structure. I mean, his structure is amazing for classic physique as well, and he's probably going to win the classic physique Olympia next year, but I think his transfer to open would be kind of a little bit smoother than Chris Bumstead's. You know, Chris really has classic structure, but Mike, I think he can do both things. And I think he could do 212 as well. I think he was like 190 pounds, something like that. I don't think he was 200. If he was 200, then like if he did the open show after the Mr. Olympia Prague Pro, he could definitely make the weight for 212. So in 212, what would he do? I think he would do really well. I think he can definitely win pro shows in the 212. And as far as the open, if he really focused on the open, I can also see this guy being really good. Now, the problem with Mike Sommerfeld is that he has a really rare sickness, and it's called vampire disease. And it's much worse than what Chris Bumstead has. Actually, two top classic physique guys have really bad diseases. Chris has issues with kidneys. He has an autoimmune system disease. And Mike has issues with his liver. Basically, his vampire disease, that's the name of it. There is also a scientific name, but let's call it vampire disease. Basically, he can't be exposed to direct sunlight. His skin is basically burning, and he can't eat garlic. And he needs to be very careful with how he's approaching the prep, because his liver enzymes go crazy if he does something a little bit more stressful to his body. So, you know, the chance of him going open are not very high. Maybe like at the end of his career, he can do a rebound after the show, just like what Chris is doing, and just see how well would he do in the open. But like pushing the weight, going crazy, being an open bodybuilder, that's not going to happen because this guy is not very healthy, unfortunately. But again, crazy structure, amazing structure, and crazy size, considering that he is under the classic physique weight cap. What do you guys think? Tell me down below. If he did the open, if he did exactly what Chris did, what would happen? Where would he place? Alright, next up, we got a little physique update from Flex Lewis, who has been retired from bodybuilding for about 4 years now, and considering that, he is actually looking very good. I mean, his conditioning is always spot on. He looks pretty big, not big enough to be competitive in a 212 Mr. Olympia anymore, but if he wanted to, he could definitely come back relatively quickly. And here in the caption he says, 3rd week back. What does that even mean? Is he coming back to competitive bodybuilding? I don't think he ever stopped training. Did he jump on the cycle and he was off? I think he was just on TRT for a long time since retiring. And maybe now he started a little cycle. Now that Seth Ferrosi, who is also a former 212 competitor, is making a comeback and is looking amazing, and I think these guys are about the same age, something like that. Maybe Flex thought he should do it as well. I mean, his body looks healthy. He doesn't have any glaring, like, injuries. Maybe he has some underlying issues, but, like, there are no big tears. His physique is still looking very fresh. He's still young enough. He could still do it if he wanted to. I don't know what his life is like right now. I think he has a family, he has a business, he's running this big gym in Las Vegas, Dragon Slayer. So, I mean, he has a lot going on, but maybe he has a niche now. After seeing some other guys coming back after all that happened with bodybuilding this year, things are exciting. And he's following everything, and maybe he decided to come back. I mean, he says he's 3rd week back. I don't think he announced a comeback officially. Maybe he did. I don't know about it. I'm not aware. Maybe you guys follow him more closely. If you know anything, tell us down below in the comment section. But yeah, if he wanted to come back, he can definitely come back. I think in like 5-6 months, let's say, if he was really devoted to bodybuilding, he could probably come close to what he was once. But if he actually decided to come back, he could just start prepping for the next year's Mr. Olympia right now, and in 1 year, I'm sure he could look as good as he ever looked. I mean, this guy was just always struggling to make the weight. Before he officially retired, if you guys remember, he was actually trying to do the Open for a couple of years. He was announcing it, and in the end, he decided not to do it, to just retire. but maybe now he's gonna do it. I don't know if he's gonna come back to the 212 Mr. Olympia stage, or actually he's gonna do the open bodybuilding. I'm not sure, but I think he did have some health issues, and maybe that's all recovered. Maybe it's all fine now, and now he decided to come back and actually compete. He officially retired in 2021 or 22, but I think his last Mr. Olympia was 2018. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think his last show was 6 years ago. If he came back now and if he looked the way he looked back in the day, could he take out Keon Pearson? I mean, it's very difficult. I don't know if he could, but Flex won, I think, 6 or 7 titles. So, don't underestimate the guy. I mean, if anybody could beat Keon right now, Flex is probably the only guy that could come back and do that if his body responded and he looked as good as he looked back in the day when he was competing and dominating the 212 division. Down below in the comment section, guys, tell me, what do you think about this? Alright, and finally, we got a little update from Neckzilla. And when I saw this update, I was like, man, what the hell is this guy even doing? Like, he promised he was gonna do the Prague Pro, and he never took the time to explain to us why he's not doing it. And even though the list is not out officially yet, you can see it right here, he is definitely not ready for the stage. He never explained why he's out. I guess he just can't go through it again. He said it a million times so far. But yeah, it looks like he's not dieting. He doesn't look to be in very good shape. And there's also this photo, which when I saw it, I was like, yeah, Neckzilla is probably just all hype. I mean, look at this freaking structure. It's so ugly, man. It's so ugly. Look at the size of the legs compared to the size of the arms. The lack of the V-taper, everything is just in horrible sync. The symmetry is just not existent. Like, maybe he's better when he's in shape and does the poses, but still, like, this guy, he doesn't have the best structure. He doesn't have the best genetics in terms of shape. He has a ton of muscle, but he's also not able to mentally go through preps. He needs to be forced to compete, literally. Like, his sponsors forced him to do the Dubai Pro. He almost pulled out of that show as well. So it seems like he doesn't have the heart for bodybuilding. And as you can see right here, his name on the IG is no longer Rubiel Mosquera. Now he embraced the nickname Neckzilla, and he changed his IG handle to Neckzilla Official. And that's not all. He even did a Neckzilla tattoo. So, yeah, I'm guessing he probably embraced his social media popularity. Maybe he's gonna be just a big neck guy from now on, a freak who is not really a serious competitor. I mean, after like pulling out of 15 shows this year and not even explaining why he's not doing it, it's very possible that Neckzilla is done as a competitor. But we'll see, maybe something clicks in his head and he decides to focus and actually do bodybuilding the proper way. But yeah, as of right now, at this point, it's not looking very good. It's not looking very promising. Very unfortunate, very unfortunate. Even though his structure is not the best, he still had a ton of muscle, and he would definitely be an interesting addition to all these shows to the Mr. Olympia, but I don't know if it's gonna happen at this point. Whatever you guys think, tell me down below in the comment section. If you guys enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more content like this about bodybuilding, guys, please stay tuned, subscribe to this channel. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you soon, all the best, and bye-bye.